Even though I've been working on Angelic full-time for the past 10 years, I've never worked on it as an RPG-style world-building project until recently. The new direction comes with a lot of unanswered questions like, what do adventurers fight in this world? Are there monsters? Are they all different types of angels? Or is it something else? There are a lot of opportunities to create weird creatures in a world like Angelic. Lesser orders of angels like cherubim and the virtues come to mind, but that's something I want to circle back on later. In the meantime, before I work on more angels, I need to figure out what other kinds of creatures might exist in this world. Dragons appear in a lot of biblical stories too, so they might fit. This project is supposed to be a D&D compatible book eventually. Dragons are a big part of that whole thing, so we're going to put a pin in that. But what makes me feel like it's part of the Angelic world is still something I need to work out. Mythological hybrid animals like griffins, chimeras, and sphinxes are also an option to include because they're established in the fantasy canon along with angels. The problem, again, is like, how do I make them feel like an essential part of Angelic and not just a rehash of common fantasy tropes? If I'm going to include them in this world-building project, I need to find a way to make them unique and specific to Angelic. This week, I've been experimenting with a few different ways of integrating monsters into this project. One of the ideas came from the concept of angelic corruption. Like, what if aspects of the natural world somehow transformed by proximity to the angelic plane? Perhaps they start to sprout an excessive number of eyes. Lots of biblically accurate angel stuff includes preponderance of eyeballs. However, there are several ways this concept could manifest, so I'll keep exploring and see what comes up. Another question to ask is, are these creatures purely wild, or do they have their own form of civilization? I tried out the extra eyes thing on this Sasquatch guy. I imagine him up in the mountains near Raphaelis, or maybe in the snowfields north of Hosmedon. I'll give these guys hats, cloaks, or even loincloths, but it suggests that there's a kind of organized intelligence that might conflict with the more human-centric foundation of this project. So I'm leaning toward making all of the magical creatures purely wild and disorganized. To give this little guy some personality while also keeping him away from clothing, I stumbled into the idea of making him a hybrid animal plant. Perhaps all the mythological creatures in this world reveal their nature in part through a fusion between flora and fauna, sort of like Pikmin, but more sinister. These monsters represent manifestations of people's anxieties towards the natural world. Mixing aspects of plants and animals might work out. One of the other ideas I've been considering is giving all the monsters distinctly human traits, like expressive but inhuman faces, or perhaps pieces of human anatomy to express animal body shapes. If the Angelic is a plane that reflects human consciousness, showing aspects of humanity remixed in surprising ways to create monsters might work. That leads me to the weird griffin I'm drawing here. I wanted to make the griffin design with human hands for feet and a human torso awkwardly stacked where its neck should be. This piece works to explore the idea of using human anatomy to create unique and unsettling versions of classical mythological creatures, but I find myself still unsatisfied with the result. Even though I'm not happy with the outcome of this piece, I feel like the idea is one of the strongest ones I've explored so far, so I'm going to give it some more iterations. Concept art is all about exploring possibilities. It's easy to indulge in daydreaming and reference gathering, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what the drawings look like. My daily visual experiments have resulted in a lot of bad art. Dozens of complete concepts for this project are already teetering on the edge of the trash can, which is fine by me. I'm perfectly happy to bin as many designs as I need to in order to build Angelic into the best version of itself. Up until now, I've hidden away all my failed drawings and rejected ideas, but throughout the development of this project, I intend to share that experience with all of you. I'll be working to share images and videos of the world building for the Angelic tabletop RPG across social media, but I'm going to make sure all of the drawings and notes end up available for my Patreon backers. You can find the link in the description. Thanks for checking out my work today, and if the spirits are willing, I'll be back to share more soon.